Good day, folks, and welcome back to Ed's Garage at Bannister Hyundai. Today we are looking at the 2025 Santa Cruz Ultimate. This right here is the completely top level Santa Cruz. There's nothing above this, the highest price version, and it's got a lot of features. So if this video helps you out, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and check out the links below if you want to save some money on some cool products. But let's have a look at the Santa Cruz. So what we're going to do today is go over the whole car, except for the infotainment system. I'm going to go over that a little bit, but if you want to know more about the infotainment system, check out the link in the description below, because I have a video that goes over everything on the infotainment system of these vehicles. It has the new CCNC with wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. So it's a pretty in-depth system. Now, the Santa Cruz just had a mild refresh done, so you'll notice the front end looks a little bit different. It's a little bit more bold, a little more squared off, especially in the corner of each of the lights of the sides here. You can see the daytime running lights. They're LED and they kind of blend into the grille. I think it's a really cool look, and it's definitely improved over the last year version. But yeah, this is definitely a little bit more squared off. You've got LED daytime running lights, but also LED headlights and LED high beams, and they're a projection high beam and headlight. Now, the reason these headlights are down low is to eliminate the need for fog lights, and it looks kind of cool as well. So they're low enough, you don't need fog lights, so if you're wondering why it doesn't have fog lights, that is the reason. But also on the front, we have a few other things to talk about, like the forward-facing radar system there, as well as the forward-facing camera there, and the forward-facing camera in the windshield. Now, that top camera and the radar system, those two are used in conjunction for the autonomous emergency braking system, lane keep assist, junction turning detection, pedestrian detection, cyclist detection, etc., etc., etc. This vehicle has a lot of safety technology, and I'm going to show you everything about all of those things as well. Now, above the camera in the windshield, there is another little sensor there. That is the rain sensing wiper sensor. It's a infrared light that basically bounces off of the windshield, or off the rain droplets, back into an infrared light sensor. Also on the front here, as I mentioned, you do have the forward-facing camera. That's because this does have the 360 camera system, which we'll get into a little bit later as well. Now, under the hood of this brand new 25 Santa Cruz is the very powerful 2.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. This is a SmartStream engine with dual injection technology, as well as continuously variable valve duration, making it pretty reasonable on fuel efficiency, but actually quite powerful. It's a 277 horsepower, roughly 311 foot-pounds of torque, and it can tow 5,000 pounds. It's also got a payload of up to 1,700 pounds in the box, but being able to tow 5,000 pounds is pretty awesome, even though this has a 8-speed wet dual-clutch transmission. It has a separate transmission cooler in there to help along with that. It's also pre-wired for trailers, 7-pin brake controlling capability. As a matter of fact, it even has self-leveling rear suspension, so pretty cool drivetrain. H-Track all-wheel drive from Hyundai as usual, which is pretty good as well. It's going to be able to put power to the rear wheels under any sort of acceleration or whenever it needs to, with various different drive modes and terrain modes, which I'll get to in a little bit as well. Also under the hood, you'll notice, as with every other Hyundai, everything's really nice and buttoned up. For instance, we have the plastic coverings on the sides. We have the insulation underneath the hood here, which is very, very tight to the hood. Insulation in the firewall, and it's actually a really, really quiet vehicle. Fluid-filled bushings down on the suspension also help for ride quality. This is a very, very smooth ride and very comfortable ride as well. One of Hyundai's best, as a matter of fact. Also, as with other Hyundais, there's a lot of room to work around the engine, and things are pretty easily accessible. For instance, here is your air filter. So if you don't want to pay a technician a half-an-hour rate to install that, you can do that at home in as little as just a few seconds, just like that. Pretty simple. Fuse box there. 12-volt battery there. You got easy access to your, this is a high-pressure coolant reservoir, easy access to your windshield washer fluid there, brake fluid in the back, of course, where it's normally placed. All right, walking around the Santa Cruz, before we get to the business end, let's touch on a few things on the side here. So, we have these beautiful aluminum alloy wheels. These are a 20-inch wheel, 245/50/20. New wheel design for 2025, definitely a good-looking wheel. Tires on here are Michelin Primacy tires, so no cheaping out on the tires. Those are actually really nice. You'll notice they got rid of the side steps, thankfully, because honestly they were kind of useless on the Santa Cruz. It's not that high off the ground, you just don't need them. And a lot of people complain that when they got in and out of the car, their pant legs are getting dirty, hitting the the side steps, but those are now gone, thankfully. You'll notice a couple little Easter eggs. Here's a little picture of a Santa Cruz on the side here. We've got the side rails up here. Of course, you can get the cross rails. This one does have the sunroof as well. You get the nice shark fin antenna there. Now, they also have added removable caps here for the bed rail mounts. So that's kind of cool. You don't have to cut those out anymore. Check it out. Designed in California, built in Alabama. Got the little step here to get up into the box. And then the camera on the back. Oh, I forgot to point out there is cameras on the mirrors. Also blind spot monitoring on the mirrors and marker lights on the mirrors. Let's go ahead and open up the tailgate, which we can do from the key or from the tailgate itself, of course. But check it out, soft open, which is awesome. As the tailgate opens up, you'll notice we got a couple of spots for cups or whatnot if you want to. But inside the box, we have a little bed trunk. Got the floor mats in there right now. And this is actually completely sealed up, so this will stay nice and dry. However, there is removable caps if you do want to throw this fill it up with ice or whatever. You want to throw some beers in there. So that's kind of cool for tailgating. Also in the back, we have the retractable tonneau cover. There we go. And that's actually lockable. So right underneath here, turn this little guy. Now this is completely locked. So when the tailgate is closed and the doors are locked, that stuff is going to be safe that's in there. But check this out. The tonneau cover does more. If I release this and then pull the handle back, now it will stop halfway. So if we have like a plant pot or something like that in there, it's just a nice barrier for whatever you have in there. Let's go ahead and open it up all the way here. I'll show you a couple more things. You notice in the bed here, we've got these little divots. You could put 2x6s in there if you want to have a little raised platform. Also, in between the wheel wells is not quite 4 feet, but above it is. Now, if you want to throw in a sheet of plywood, for instance, all you got to do is take this little guy off, which is more of a two-handed procedure. You put it up onto this one, and now the tailgate is slightly elevated. And the reason it's elevated is because it's now the same height as the wheel wells there. So if you do want to throw in an 8x4 sheet of plywood, it'll sit nicely on here. And then, of course, you can use the movable cleats to wrap a rope around that. Check this out, though. We've also got LED lighting in here, which is now functional from here. You can actually turn that on. The box does need to be open, though, for that. The tailgate needs to be open for that to work. And not only does it turn on both of those lights, but also the one right there. And we'll turn that off. Right in front of that, we got some storage here. So that opens up for a little bit of storage. And on the other side, also storage. But this one's got a hidden little trick here. It also has 150 watt, 120 volt power outlet. Well, you're probably wondering how strong this tonneau cover is. I told you earlier that the cargo area here does have a payload of up to 1,700 pounds, but check this out. The tonneau cover can actually support up to 250 pounds. Now, I'm nowhere near that, but apparently it can support that amount. So that's pretty cool. Now, there are quite a few accessories available from Hyundai for this tailgate, which is pretty cool, or for this box. You can get, obviously, the cross rails. You can get the bed extender, which folds out and gives you like a bed extension all the way to the end of the tailgate here. So definitely a very useful little thing. This is not a truck, but it has tendencies to act like a truck every now and then. Now, the tailgate itself, check out how light this tailgate is. I'm going to go one finger. Look at this. Watch this. Woo! Boom. Isn't that awesome? I wish mine was that light. All right, time to look at the inside of the Santa Cruz. Now, I have set the front seat where I could very comfortably drive it, but let's open up the back here and jump into the back seat just to see how much room I have. Now, believe it or not, this actually has more leg room than some mid-sized trucks, like, for instance, the Chevy Colorado and GMC Canyon. As you can see, I got a little bit of room in front of my knees here. Now, I am 6'2", so this seat is back pretty far to accommodate my longer legs. But it does have a solid seat back, which is nice. You got seat back pockets here. We have vents in the console. We have 2 backlit USB ports. Up on the headliner, we've got grab handles in all 4 corners, little hooks here as well. Cup holders in the door. Now, this one also does have the Bose audio system with subwoofer and center channel, and some nice soft touch materials up here as well. We do also have a fold down center cup holder armrest, and it doesn't end there. There's also a window that you can open up. And one nice thing about this window is it does have the rear defrost lines in this movable window as well. So despite being movable, it will still defrost, which is handy. Up in the headliner here, you can see we do have the LED light for that as well. And I think that's pretty much it back here, but I got to get out because there's one other thing I need to show you, and that is there is storage underneath these seats. Check it out. So a little bit of storage there. On the other side, you'll find the jack, because this one does come with a spare tire. Now, I didn't mention this before, but the spare tire is not in that little trunk. It's actually underneath the vehicle right there. And it's not a full size, but it's pretty big. It's almost a full size tire. Another little Easter egg here. You can see we've got the Santa Cruz logo, or Santa Cruz right there, and access to the spare tire from that little guy there. So yeah, pretty cool, well thought out, well laid out vehicle. Let's check out the passenger seat, and then we'll check out the driver's seat. All right, passenger side now has a power seat. Check it out. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-way adjustable power passenger seat with height and with tilt. You can tilt the seat up and down. And then, of course, manually 2-way adjustable headrest. Beautiful leather interior. You got the perforations in the center seats and the center bits there, and then solid leather bolsters. This is a leatherette product. But it's going to hold up really, really nice, and it actually has a really nice feel to it as well. So good high quality leatherette. All right, before I jump in, let me show you this key fob. So it does have the Hyundai logo style key fob. Yeah, not the greatest key fob, unfortunately. It's got the separate key blade there, but it does have remote start. So we're going to lock the doors, hold this button here for remote start. And one of the nice things about the remote start is when you get into the vehicle, you don't need to then press the start button a second time. It'll just come to life. So let's do that now. And you'll notice we have the proximity entry here. There's no physical button. It's just put your hand in the door handle and it unlocks. Or you can also put your phone or Apple Watch up against the handle here and it'll unlock the doors as well. So we're going to get in here just like that. Seat moves back for us because it does have the valet seating, memory seats, and mirror controls here on the door. Also part of the user profiles in the screen there, which I'll show you in just a moment. So jumping in and putting my foot on the brake, boom, everything comes to life. And it now presents us with the driver options. We've got driver 1, driver 2, and guest. There they are. So we're going to go ahead and confirm driver 1. Now, if driver 1 had a seat position that was different, it would actually put the seat into that position, as well as the mirrors. And it'll also remember things like the climate control settings, the ambient lighting color, if equipped, so depending on the vehicle that you have, and a bunch of other stuff. But I'm going to get to that in my video that I'm sharing in the links in the description below. So check that out if you want to know more about how this infotainment system works, as I mentioned before. Now, if you happen to see my video on the Hyundai Tucson, the 2025 Tucson Ultimate Hybrid, a lot of the electronics in here are very, very similar. So if you saw that video, a lot of this is going to look the same. This one does actually have a shifter, whereas the Tucson has the little rotating thing on the steering wheel. But other than that, the interior looks almost identical between this and the Tucson. So let me show you some of the features in this vehicle, starting with the left side. All right, so to the left of the driver's leg, we have the brightness control here. This is your box lights. You can turn that on from here. Traction stability control and a tow haul mode. So that's kind of nice. So because this vehicle can tow up to 5,000 pounds, having that tow haul mode is quite nice. You can actually adjust how heavy your trailer is. So that's done in the system here. That's one thing that you will not see in the other video. So I'll see if I can find that menu. And then looking at the steering wheel here, actually, you know what? I'm going to just talk about this because you're probably already wondering what this is. So these are infrared lights that are now bouncing off my face looking for my eyes. This is an eye tracking sensor. So if you're wondering why it's flashing like that, it's because it's infrared lights forming a grid on my face. But you can't see that flashing in real life. The camera picks it up, but in real life, you don't see that. It just looks black. All right, on the left side, we have our turn signal stock. It does have the momentary signal, so 3, 5, or 7 flashes. Automatic headlights, of course, but you can also just put the headlights in full on and they'll just stay on all the time. It does have automatic high beams as well, so that's the left stock. On the right side, you can see we have the automatic wipers. And one nice thing that Hyundai does is when you adjust the wipers or the headlights or whatever, it says in here which setting you're on. So you don't necessarily have to look at the stock. just look at your instrument cluster and it'll tell you exactly what it's on. Pretty cool. On the steering wheel itself, we can see we have our shifters here, so shift down, shift up, paddle shifters, which is nice. And of course, with an 8-speed dual clutch transmission and 277 horsepower, 311 foot-pounds of torque, even this vehicle can feel a little sporty, a little racy, so having those paddle shifters just helps that a little bit more. On the left side of the steering wheel itself, on the front face, we have right here, these 3 buttons are all related to cruise control. So this will turn on cruise control and set your initial speed. This will allow you to adjust it or pause it and resume it. And then this one here will allow you to change the distance that it follows the vehicle in front of you. These 2 buttons here will go through everything on the center of this screen. So if I hit that top button, I can cycle between the 3 separate menus, and then if I use the little scroll wheel here, I can look at the different things within these menus. And there's quite a bit, guys. There's a lot to that screen. So I'm not going to bore you with all the details on this particular video, but essentially you've got a compass, you've got your drive information, and then you have things like your trip computer, your fuel economy ratings, your all-wheel drive information, etc. That's all controlled with these 2 screens. This button right here allows you to enable the lane centering. So this vehicle is equipped with lane keep assistance and lane centering. Now let me tell you a little bit about lane keep assistance and lane centering and highway drive assistance. Well, I just bought myself a Rivian pickup truck and I love it, but I gotta say, the automation features are nowhere near as good as Hyundai's. Even our cheapest vehicles with lane centering and lane keep assistance do a better job than my Rivian, which is a little disappointing. But either way, it's fine. But yeah, Hyundai does a spectacularly good job with their automated systems. Now, obviously, you do need to keep your hands on the wheel. It's not a hands-off system. There's no such thing as a vehicle that fully self-drives itself yet for the masses. I mean, Tesla has come close, but even there, you should still have your hands on the wheel. Now, this with the added eye tracking is going to be even better than, recent Hyundais, but going all the way back to I would say as far back as 2018, Hyundai's self-driving capabilities or automated or assistance capabilities have been spectacularly good. And don't just take my word for it. Other reviewers say the same thing. Anyway, let's look at some of the rest of the features. All right, you'll notice they got rid of the H on the steering wheel here, but they didn't really, because you've got these 4 dots. Now, 4 dots in Morse code is the letter H. So in case you're wondering what's going on there, nicer new 3-spoke steering wheel. That's kind of cool. Looking down at the center console, we have a fairly large center console storage area here and a little removable container that comes out as well if you want. Nothing right here. This is just some piano black. Unfortunately, there's still some piano black. As far as the buttons here, we've got our automatic e-brake. Now, the emergency brake can be enabled and disabled from this button, but it is automatic as well. We have our auto hold button here, which will stop the vehicle from moving forward when we take our foot off the brake at a stoplight or stop sign. And in Canada, we have drive and terrain modes. So this will go through the different drive modes or terrain modes. Let me show you what I mean here. So if I move that button up or down, you can see I've got normal, sport, and smart. However, if I press the button next to it, that drive terrain thing, there we go, I can now put it into snow, mud, and sand. And essentially what that's going to do is it's just going to adjust the all-wheel drive system accordingly to make it better in those different scenarios. And it works pretty good. We've got hill descent assist here, which works up to 40 kilometers an hour. And above that, of course, we have our good old-fashioned heavy-duty looking feeling shifter. Personally, I prefer shift-by-wire, but a lot of people like this. And because this is a more of a trucky style vehicle, I guess they wanted to keep that good old-fashioned style shifter. Above that, we have a wireless charging pad with a little raised bump, so your camera can kind of sit next to that. And all of this is rubberized, which is nice, so the phone's not going to be sliding around. Little storage area there. 2 USB-C ports. This one here will communicate with the screen or just charge. And then if you press this button, it will just charge. So you've got basically both options, charge and communicate with screen or just charge. This one right here is just for charging tablets and phones or whatever. And it's just, yeah, it doesn't change. These lights here are in regard to the wireless chargers. When you're wireless charging, this will kind of cycle up to indicate that it's wirelessly charging. And then you got a 12-volt port right there as well. Now, before I get into this here, let's have a look over here. We have a nice little spot here to put parcel, little, parcel shelf. In case you're wondering what this is, I don't know. Right below that, you have a glove box that is nice and lit up, so reasonable sized glove box. I think this is a temperature sensor for the passenger side. I believe that's what that is, because it has dual zone automatic climate control. So we have our auto level, and the auto is 3 different levels, by the way, so 3, 2, 1. That's kind of nice, because that means if you don't want the fan spinning full blast, but you still want to keep the system on automatic, you can do so. We have heated seats up here, 3 levels heated seats and 3 levels cooled seats, and 2 levels of heated steering. And one really nice thing about that is it's the whole steering wheel, not just like the top half or the grips or whatever, like some companies really cheap out on that. Actually, a lot of companies really cheap out on that. It's the whole steering wheel, and it's hot and medium, so not just on or off. We have our recirc button right here, and check this out. If I use the windshield washer fluid, it turns on recirculate automatically, because it doesn't want you to have to smell the windshield washer fluid. Now, I can tell you, with a vehicle that does not have that, I do miss that silly little feature, because now every time I use my washer fluid, I can smell the washer fluid, and if you don't like the smell of washer fluid, you'll really miss that feature if you don't have it. Seems minor, but hey, it's cool. Now, if you think that's cool, like me, you'll also think it's cool that it can do that when you drive through tunnels. Because this vehicle has built-in navigation, it knows when you're driving through a tunnel, so it'll also recirculate the air, so you don't have to smell the gross, musty tunnel air. Yeah, Hyundai thinks of everything sometimes. It's pretty cool. Now, above the climate control, you have all of the physical buttons for the stereo. Yes, that's right, we still have physical buttons. We've got a volume knob, which is also a power button, so if I hold that, shuts the screen off. Press it, turns the screen off, or press it again, turns the radio off. So it does a lot of different things, so that's kind of nice. This over here is a tuning button. It does also do some basic navigation throughout the screen, but very few people are actually going to use that, because it is, of course, a touch screen, and it's pretty responsive. We have home, which takes you to the home screen, obviously. Map takes you to the map screen, obviously. And it's a pretty good mapping system as well. Free updates for life. It's not as good as Google, honestly, or even Apple Maps, but it's pretty good. A lot of people that simply don't have cell phones or data coverage or whatever will still be happy with this mapping system. It is voice activated as well. And the entire map from North America, so Canada and America, that's all in there, and it works everywhere, and works quite well. Right next to that, we have our search button here. This is a global search. What I mean by that is you can search for navigation destinations, you can search for setup things, you can search for media things, and also contacts when you have your cell phone connected. Hazard button, Seek Tracker, obvious. This is a customizable button. You can set that up to do whatever you want it to do. I mean, there's various different options. For this car, I think phone projection is probably the best. That's wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, by the way. So when I press this button, it'll open up Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Setup, of course, will take you to the setup screen. Again, watch the video below to learn more about these about this infotainment system. By the way, we're looking at these screens here. These are two 12-inch high-resolution screens. They are very bright, can be very easily seen in the daylight, and they're customizable. So stuff that's on this side, for instance, if I go to my cluster settings and I go to theme selection, check this out. I got multiple different themes. I could put it into classic with analog dials, modern, or simplified. And then I can also change the style of each one of those as well. So classic, sports style, regular style, etc. There's a good amount of customization in there. But again, I'll go over all of that in the other video in the links in the description below. So that's where I'm going to leave it on the screen. By the way, this is also non-polarized. So if you're wearing polarized sunglasses, you'll still be able to see that very, very easily. Up here in the rearview mirror, we've got our home link buttons. It is auto dimming. Home link, by the way, is garage doors and gates. The auto dimming functionality is quite nice, of course. Above that, we have our call for roadside assistance and our emergency assistance button. Those are part of Blue Link. Blue Link is Hyundai's telematics system, allows you to remotely access the car from your cell phone. So you can start the car, stop the car, unlock the doors, lock the doors, find it on a map. And when you start the car, you can start it in different ways. You can kind of preset things like turn on your heated seats, your ventilated seats, or heated steering wheel, or defrost, or whatever, and run it for specific lengths of time at certain temperatures and whatnot. It's a lot of functionality, and it's free for at least 3 years. And I say at least because it looks like Hyundai might just make it free forever. We'll see. Also up here, of course, is your individual map buttons or map lights. They're also buttons, and they are LED lights, which is nice. Button to turn on all the lights in the car, and this one will turn all the lights off in the car when the doors are open. And then, of course, we have our sunroof control. The sunroof both slides and tilts. So you can see it opens up about that far. There's my hand. And then if I close it, this, by the way, is a manually closing shade. If I press the button straight up, it will now vent the air out. I just push it forwards again to close it. The side visors have mirrors and they have lights on both sides, and they both slide out, which is handy. So that's cool. And a nice black headliner as well. Now, one thing I can't actually show you because it's really bright out here is the ambient lighting. So there's a nice glow of light coming out here, as well as down here and in the door pockets. And you can see there are 64 available colors for that ambient lighting. It's pretty cool. And you can set that up to be remembered within your user profile. So if you have two profiles, one can have blue, one can have red or whatever. And when you get in the car, if you forgot to choose your profile, you'll know because it's the wrong color, as an example. So that's pretty cool. And that's part of the ambient lighting system. Over on the left side of the instrument cluster, you can see there's a little button right here. That's actually a fingerprint scanner. So you can also set up in your user profiles under security fingerprint identification. So when you get into the vehicle, you can put your thumbprint or fingerprint on there, and it'll remember you. It'll connect to your phone, come up with your destinations and addresses in the system, and put your, all of that customization will be remembered with your fingerprint. So if you have secure data in there that you don't want people knowing about, you can secure your profile with your fingerprint or just a password. So that's also super cool. All right, I think I'm going to leave the video there. If you have seen the 24 and prior Santa Cruz and are now looking at the 25, it's quite a departure from the previous model, even though it's just a mild refresh. So Hyundai's really added a lot of customization, a lot of features, nicer screens, better layout, less piano black. They've done a really, really good job with their mid-cycle refresh. Now, this vehicle won't be redesigned for a couple of years at least, so having this mid-cycle refresh really helps to keep the vehicle design and feature package fresh. That's kind of cool. All right, so thank you so much for getting to this point. If you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to leave them below. If you enjoyed this video, please, I do ask that you hit subscribe. It helps the channel immensely. I'm hoping to get to 15,000 subscribers before the summer. I was actually hoping for 20,000 last year, but I was probably a little too ambitious. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I appreciate all my viewers, and if there's anything you can do, all it is just hitting subscribe. That's all I'm looking for, just to subscribe. Guys, thank you again for watching. Check out the links in the description below for discounts on products like tires, wheels, camping equipment, etc. I've got a lot of links in there. Ed's Garage discount code will help out, save you a little bit of money. All right, till next time, take care.